What if I told you that some objects were never meant to be found? What if certain ancient artifacts carry something darker than history? Something older than memory itself? Something that watches back when you look at it? Tonight, we journey into forbidden territory. We uncover 5 mysterious ancient artifacts that have puzzled scientists and terrified researchers for centuries. These are not ordinary relics from the past. These are objects that seem to hold unexplainable power. Objects surrounded by tragedy. Objects that some believe were never created by human hands at all. Before we begin this journey together, I must warn you. The stories you are about to hear have been buried for a reason. They have been hidden in museum basements, locked away in private collections, spoken about only in whispers by those who have encountered them. But tonight, we bring them into the light. Our first artifact takes us to the misty lands of ancient Britain. Hidden in a small museum sits an object that looks ordinary at first glance. A simple black mirror, polished obsidian, dark as a moonless night, cold to the touch even in summer heat. This mirror once belonged to a man whose name still sends shivers through historians. John Dee, royal advisor to Queen Elizabeth I, mathematician, astronomer, and something else entirely. Something he kept secret from the royal court. John Dee was obsessed with contacting beings from other realms. He believed that hidden dimensions existed alongside our own, and he believed this black mirror was the doorway. For years, Dee would sit alone in candlelight, staring into the obsidian surface, waiting, watching, and according to his private journals, something eventually stared back. He wrote of entities that spoke to him through the darkness, beings that called themselves angels, but gave knowledge that seemed far from heavenly. They taught him a language never spoken on earth, a language that Dee carefully recorded, symbol by symbol, sound by sound. But here is where the mystery deepens. Everyone who has studied this language extensively has reported strange occurrences, nightmares that feel like memories, shadows that move when nothing else does, whispers in empty rooms. The mirror now sits behind glass in a British museum. Curators have reported that photographs of it sometimes show strange anomalies, faces that should not be there, shapes that have no explanation. Is it simply polished volcanic glass? Or did John Dee truly open a doorway that was never meant to be opened? A doorway that perhaps remains open still. We may never know for certain. But one thing is clear. That mirror holds secrets. Secrets that have survived 500 years. Secrets that still pulse with unexplainable energy. Our second artifact takes us across the ocean to the ancient lands of Central America. Deep in the jungles, where mighty civilizations once built pyramids that touched the clouds. Here, archaeologists discovered something that defies all logical explanation. Crystal skulls. These are not rough carvings made by primitive tools. These are perfectly polished pieces of pure quartz crystal, carved into the exact shape of human skulls, with precision that modern experts say should have been impossible for ancient people to achieve. The most famous is called the Skull of Doom, and its origin story is wrapped in darkness. Legend says it was found beneath a collapsed altar in an ancient temple, a temple where ceremonies were performed that we can only imagine. When the skull was first lifted from the rubble, workers reported feeling an immediate sense of dread, as if they had awakened something that had been sleeping for 1,000 years. Scientists have examined these crystal skulls with modern technology. What they found makes no sense. There are no tool marks, none, as if the crystal simply formed itself into this shape. or as if it was carved using technology that we do not understand. But the strangest reports come from those who have spent time alone with these skulls. They speak of visions, vivid images of ancient ceremonies, faces of priests long dead, sounds of chanting in languages never recorded. Some researchers have become so disturbed that they refused to continue their work. One famous crystal skull was examined by experts at a major technology company. Their conclusion was astonishing. They said that carving this skull against the natural axis of the crystal should have shattered it completely. The fact that it exists at all breaks the rules of physics as we understand them. Where did these skulls truly come from? Who made them and how? And more importantly, why do they seem to affect human consciousness in such powerful ways? Perhaps some questions are not meant to be answered. Perhaps some objects exist at the boundary between our world and something far more mysterious. The energy of these crystal skulls continues to fascinate and terrify in equal measure. They sit in museums and private collections around the world, silent, watching, waiting for someone to finally understand their true purpose. Our third artifact takes us to the burning sands of Egypt, land of pharaohs, land of pyramids, land of secrets buried beneath thousands of years of sand. In the early days of archaeology, explorers would venture into newly opened tombs with excitement and curiosity. But they quickly learned that some tombs held more than treasure. Some tombs held warnings that many ignored at their own peril. One particular artifact became infamous throughout the world. A mummy case that came to be known by a name that still echoes with dread: the unlucky mummy. This beautifully decorated coffin lid depicted a woman of obvious importance. Her painted eyes seemed to follow visitors no matter where they stood. Her expression was not peaceful like most burial artifacts. Instead, she seemed to be watching, judging, waiting. From the moment this artifact was removed from Egypt, tragedy followed. The first owner experienced financial ruin within months. The second owner lost 3 family members to sudden illness. Photographers who attempted to capture images of the artifact reported their equipment failing mysteriously. One photographer claimed that when he developed his pictures, he saw a living face staring back instead of the painted one. The artifact was eventually donated to a famous museum. But even there, strange events continued. Night guards reported hearing sounds of scratching and crying coming from the Egyptian gallery. Cleaners refused to work near the display after hours. One guard swore he saw the painted eyes blink. Perhaps most chilling is what happened when the artifact was briefly considered for transport on a new ocean liner. The ship was called Titanic. Whether this connection is coincidence or something more, we cannot say. But the pattern of misfortune surrounding this artifact has never been fully explained. Is it possible that ancient Egyptian priests knew how to bind protective energies to sacred objects? Energies that would punish anyone who disturbed their eternal rest. Energies that remain active across thousands of years. The ancients understood things about consciousness and energy that we are only beginning to rediscover. Perhaps this artifact is proof that some knowledge should remain buried, some doors should remain closed, some objects should never be touched. We now travel to our fourth artifact. This one takes us to the mysterious island nation of Japan, a land where ancient traditions blend with modern life, where respect for spirits and unseen forces remains deeply embedded in the culture. In this land, there exists a tradition of objects becoming inhabited by spirits after existing for many years. These objects are treated with respect and caution. Because the Japanese understand something that Western cultures often forget. That matter and consciousness are more connected than we realize. Among these objects are certain dolls that have become legendary for their unexplainable properties. The most famous is a doll that now resides in a temple, cared for by monks who perform daily rituals to keep whatever resides within it peaceful. This doll once belonged to a young girl who treasured it deeply. She gave it a name. She spoke to it as a friend. She loved it with the pure love that only a child can give. When this girl passed away at a very young age, her family kept the doll as a memento. But then something impossible began to happen. The doll's hair began to grow. At first the family thought they were imagining things, but over months and years the evidence became undeniable. Hair that once barely touched the doll's shoulders now reached past its waist. Scientific examination confirmed that the hair was genuine human hair, growing from a porcelain head. The family became convinced that somehow the spirit of their daughter had entered the doll, that her love for this object was so powerful it transcended the boundary between life and death. They eventually donated the doll to a temple where it could be properly cared for. Monks have trimmed the hair several times over the decades, and each time it grows back. Visitors to the temple report feeling an unusual presence when near the doll. Some say they feel a childlike energy, innocent but undeniably present. Others have captured photographs that seem to show the doll in slightly different positions than how it was displayed. This artifact challenges everything we think we know about consciousness and death. Can love truly be powerful enough to bridge worlds? Can emotion embed itself into physical matter? Can the boundary between the living and the departed be thinner than we ever imagined? Ancient wisdom traditions around the world have always taught that consciousness is not limited to the physical body. That energy can transfer between beings and objects. That love never truly dies. Perhaps this small doll sitting in a quiet temple is proof of these ancient truths. Proof that we are more than flesh and bone. Proof that the connections we make in life ripple outward into eternity. Our fifth and final artifact takes us into the shadowy world of ancient texts. Words have power. This has been understood by every civilization throughout human history. But some words were written to contain power that should never be released. Hidden in libraries and private collections around the world are books and manuscripts that researchers approach with extreme caution, not because of their age or value, but because of what happens to those who study them too deeply. One such manuscript has earned a reputation that makes even experienced scholars hesitate. Its pages contain writings and diagrams that seem designed to alter consciousness itself, to open doorways in the mind that perhaps should remain closed. Those who have spent extended time translating and studying this text report disturbing changes. Sleep becomes difficult. Dreams become vivid and terrifying. Reality itself seems to shift at the edges. Several researchers have abandoned their work completely, claiming that continuing felt genuinely dangerous to their well-being. What makes these pages so powerful remains unknown. Some theorize that ancient scribes understood how to encode frequencies within written symbols, that certain combinations of shapes and sounds can affect human brain chemistry, can trigger altered states, can open perceptual doorways. Others believe something more mysterious is at work, that these texts served as instruction manuals for contacting intelligences beyond our normal perception, and that even reading them somehow activates this contact. The manuscript remains locked away, available only to serious researchers who understand the risks, who sign agreements acknowledging the unusual effects that previous scholars have experienced. Perhaps some knowledge is genuinely dangerous. Perhaps our ancestors encoded warnings into these artifacts for good reason. Perhaps the boundaries they established between the seen and unseen worlds were meant to protect us, We live in an age where we believe science has explained everything. We look at the past and see primitive people with primitive understanding. But what if we are wrong? What if ancient civilizations possessed knowledge of consciousness and energy that we have forgotten? What if they created objects that function as doorways and anchors for forces we cannot measure with modern instruments? What if the stories of cursed objects and haunted artifacts are not superstition, but scattered memories of genuine phenomena? Tonight, we have looked into the black mirror of history. We have seen reflections that disturb and fascinate. 5 artifacts from different corners of the world, different cultures, different time periods, yet all sharing a common thread. Each of these objects challenges our understanding of reality. Each carries stories of unexplainable events. Each suggests that the universe is far more mysterious than our textbooks admit. But here is the deeper lesson hidden within these dark tales. The ancients understood something essential about existence. They understood that energy flows between all things, that consciousness shapes reality, that the seen and unseen worlds are eternally connected. They created objects meant to serve as bridges, as warnings, as teachers. These artifacts are not evil in themselves. They are mirrors reflecting the vast mystery of existence. When we look at a black obsidian surface and feel unease, we are sensing our own connection to deeper dimensions. When we stand before an ancient artifact and feel unexplainable emotions, we are remembering that we too are more than physical matter. You are consciousness having a human experience. You are connected to the same universal energy that flows through these ancient objects, the same awareness that ancient priests and mystics worked with lives within you. The difference is this: you have the choice of how to use that awareness. You can approach the mysteries of existence with fear, or you can approach them with reverence and wisdom. You can see unexplainable phenomena as threats, or you can see them as invitations to expand your understanding. The greatest minds throughout history have always known that reality extends far beyond what ordinary eyes can see. The greatest spiritual teachers have always pointed toward invisible dimensions of being. The greatest artists and visionaries have always drawn inspiration from realms beyond the physical. You carry this same potential within you. These ancient artifacts remind us that the universe is alive with mystery, that consciousness is more powerful than we realize, that the boundary between mind and matter is thinner than we imagine. Instead of fearing these truths, we can embrace them. We can approach life with wonder instead of anxiety. We can recognize that we are participants in a cosmic dance that stretches across dimensions and through time itself. The black mirrors of the ancient world reflect back one ultimate truth: that you are part of something vast and beautiful and eternal. That the same awareness which contemplated these artifacts across centuries now contemplates through your eyes in this present moment. You are the continuation of an unbroken chain of consciousness, stretching back through every civilization, through every mystic and seeker, through every human who looked up at the stars and wondered about the nature of existence. Tonight, as you rest, remember this: the mysteries are not meant to frighten you. They are meant to awaken you, to remind you that you are more than your daily routine, more than your worries and plans, more than the roles you play in ordinary life. You are awareness itself, temporarily focused through a human form, connected to all that ever was and all that ever will be. The ancient artifacts we discussed tonight are frozen moments of this eternal truth. They capture something timeless, something that still speaks to us across the centuries. Listen with your heart. Feel with your soul. Know with that part of you that existed before you were born and will continue after this body returns to the earth. You are safe. You are loved. You are part of an infinite story that is still being written. And perhaps the greatest artifact of all is you. A temporary form housing eternal consciousness. A walking mystery more profound than any object in any museum. Carry this knowing with you as you sleep tonight. Let it comfort you when darkness seems to gather. Let it remind you that light is always present even when hidden. The universe created you to experience wonder, to ask questions that have no easy answers, to feel the sweet discomfort of mysteries too large for the mind to contain. This is your birthright. This is your purpose. This is your gift. Until we meet again on another journey into the unknown, stay curious. Stay humble. Stay awake to the magic that surrounds you in every moment. The mysteries are calling, and you are ready to listen. Peace be with you, traveler. Peace be with you.